All right, I'll let you handle this negotiation.
What? John, who had confidently stepped up, realized that his French wasn't coming across and pushed me forward.
You're older than me, right? You must be pretty good at this. Go ahead and show them what you've got. Let's see the full power of a high school graduate.
That unnecessary remark. I took the documents from my smirking manager and was about to begin when he leaned in and whispered in my ear.
If you mess this up, you'll take full responsibility.
What? He had no problem throwing me under the bus for something he couldn't handle himself. What a guy. I swallowed my rising anger and simply replied, "Understood." I apologized to the client on behalf of my manager and began my presentation. My manager was speechless. Well, of course, after all, I am carrying quite the secret. My name is Bob Miller. I work for an advertising agency. When I was a kid, my dad passed away from illness, and it was just my mom and me. She worked multiple part-time jobs to support me, but she eventually collapsed at work due to exhaustion. Although it wasn't life-threatening, she had to be hospitalized, and the medical bills started piling up. I was in college at the time, but I couldn't wait until graduation. I had to drop out and start working. I had been working part-time at an advertising agency that a friend had introduced me to while attending school. Originally, I planned to become a full-time employee after graduation, but I asked to start earlier than expected. I've always been grateful to this company. To show my gratitude, I pushed myself to work even harder. My biggest challenge was learning French. During my part-time days, French wasn't that necessary, but once I became a full-time employee, it was expected. With only classroom French under my belt, daily conversation, let alone business communication, was extremely difficult. But I didn't have time to complain. For my mom and for the managers and seniors who took care of me, I dedicated my days to both work and studying. It was tough, but rewarding. Thanks to the supportive people around me, I started seeing results. And just when I was finally recognized as a fully capable professional and thought I could truly start giving back to the company, I was transferred to work for another company overseas. Fortunately, my mom's health had stabilized, so I could leave without worrying. Time flew by, and before I knew it, 10 years had passed. For various reasons, I returned to my old company and reported to work at the familiar office. Was there always a vending machine here? I recognized that painting. As I was soaking in the changes, a familiar face greeted me. After 10 years, the office was a mix of familiar and unfamiliar faces. But thanks to my former manager, now an executive, who took the time to introduce me to everyone, I didn't feel uncomfortable at all. Well, with one exception. I was assigned to a department handling international clients. The department manager, John, visibly frowned when I greeted him.
I heard someone new was coming in, but an old man and a high school grad at that? What a disappointment.
I was stunned by his outright rudeness during our first meeting. Technically, I was a mid-career hire. Even though I was returning after 10 years, it wasn't considered a leave of absence. John, who hadn't been around before my overseas assignment, was apparently 33 years old. I'm 49, but do I really look that old? As I was processing my shock, John sneered.
Listen, this is an international firm. If you can't speak French, you're useless here. Do you even understand French? Maybe it's too tough for someone your age?
Does he really not know that I've returned from an overseas assignment? I informed him that I'd spent 10 years abroad.
These days, you don't even need fluent French to work abroad. I heard you were in a Korean company?
I understood what he was getting at. For short-term transfers, basic language skills, some translation apps, and hand gestures can get you by. But no one can live like that for a decade. Yes, my last assignment was in Korea, but
Korea? They've got English signs and plenty of places where you can get by in English. Just because you've worked there doesn't mean you're truly experienced abroad, so don't get cocky about it.
I tried to respond, but John cut me off with his own story.
I grew up in French, you know. I was there through college, so I know the real deal when it comes to language and culture. Sure, I'm much younger than you, but I've got the authentic experience. If you don't know something, just ask me. This is a merit-based company. Even if you're older, my experience far surpasses yours.
His tone was irritating, but he was probably just desperate to maintain his authority. Maintaining a good relationship with him was essential to ensure the smooth operation of our work and the company. I concluded that for the time being, it was best to stay composed and rise above it all. To familiarize myself with the department's situation, I took on the task of tracking the team's progress. That's when I noticed that one person had an unusually large workload. Her name was Susan Thompson. She seemed to be a relatively new employee. In addition to her assigned duties, she was also handling miscellaneous tasks, preparing meeting materials, coordinating with clients, and compiling departmental proposals, all tasks that should have been divided among the team. Of course, she still had her regular workload. I wondered why Susan was the only one overloaded with work. I considered the possibility that she had more capacity, but that didn't seem to be the case. She was staying late every day. She didn't seem like the type to slack off either. I decided to approach Susan and ask her about the situation. Susan, it looks like you have a lot on your plate. Are you doing okay?
Mom. Oh, yes, I'm fine.
Even though she seemed surprised that I spoke to her, she immediately replied with an "I'm fine," which made me a bit worried. Really? You've been working a lot of overtime, and it doesn't seem like you're able to focus on your own tasks.
Thank you for your concern, but it's fine. For someone like me, who isn't good at my job, this level of strictness is necessary.
Her words caught me off guard. Not good at her job? If that were true, there's no way she could handle this amount of work. Even with overtime, it was an overwhelming amount. I think you're quite capable. Did someone tell you otherwise?
Well, yes, John did.
I had a feeling. With his high pride, he was probably determined to keep anyone he considered beneath him in their place. Is he the reason you're handling all these extra tasks alone? This workload isn't meant for just one person.
Yes, he told me that since I'm incompetent, I should handle all the grunt work so as not to bother the other employees.
I couldn't help but let out a sigh. Of course, John's behavior wasn't commendable. But I couldn't help but think that blindly obeying him wasn't the best choice either. Did you actually believe him? You're allowed to refuse unreasonable tasks, and you can ask other team members for help.
I can't do that.
Susan's quiet voice protested. there seemed to be more to the story. Why not?
Well, it's hard to speak up against John. He's the CEO's son.
I see. Just because he was the CEO's son didn't give him the right to belittle his subordinates or force them into excessive workloads. Still, Susan was probably right. He wouldn't listen to her no matter what she said. Seeing how none of the other employees stepped in to help Susan, I could tell they were also afraid of John's authority. Anyway, let me help. Pass me any task you think I can handle.
Oh no, I couldn't possibly ask you to do that.
This is everyone's work, so it's only fair that I pitch in. After some convincing, Susan finally entrusted me with some of the unfinished tasks. They were simple enough, but the sheer amount was overwhelming. For someone unfamiliar with them, they take a lot of time. Susan, I'm done with these. Can you pass me the next batch?
Wait, really? Already?
Yeah. Oh, make sure to double check them for me. Let me know if I messed anything up.
Yes.
Also, are there any tasks that have to be done today?
Just reviewing this document and compiling the data.
In that case, we should be able to finish by the end of the day. Let's tackle anything else tomorrow. That way, you can leave on time today.
But
I'll keep helping you tomorrow, too.
thank you so much.
She expressed her gratitude repeatedly. The other employees probably overheard our conversation, but they pretended not to notice. Back in my day, there weren't people who flaunted their authority or ignored overburdened colleagues. It was clear that John was a big reason the culture had changed for the worse. Since it would be a hassle if others found out I was helping Susan, I decided to divide the work discreetly through emails and chats.
Bob, how are you so fast at your work?
What?
Oh, well, that's probably a rude question to ask a senior, isn't it?
We were having a discussion in a small meeting room about preparing the documents when she suddenly asked me that. It's not rude at all. It's just, maybe I'm fast because I'm used to it. I've been here a long time after all.
You've been with this company for that long?
I've been here since I was in college, at first as a part-timer though.
That early?
I gave her a brief explanation of my background. That's probably why I know how the company works and have a lot of data in my head. It helps me process things faster.
I see. I should learn from you.
You're doing great, Susan. You're faster than anyone else. But because of all the extra work, it doesn't look that way. I mentioned earlier that my mom collapsed from overwork, right?
Yes.
Even young people can ruin their health by working too much. You still look pale, so please don't push yourself too hard.
Thank you for your concern. I just want to make it through the meeting next week at least.
That mindset is exactly what's dangerous. It's because you have an important meeting coming up that you need to prioritize your health. Leave the low priority tasks to me.
But I feel bad making you handle so much, Bob.
Do I look like I'm struggling?
No.
Looking at how stubborn she was, I started to worry. Am I taking away her sense of purpose? To me, it looked like she was struggling, but maybe she found my help more of an annoyance than a blessing. Even so, I didn't want her to collapse like my mother did. I had to prevent that. But I'm not trying to take your job from you, Susan. If I'm being a busybody, just tell me. I'm only concerned for you. Susan suddenly stood up and said, "Not at all."
You've helped me so much. Honestly, right before you arrived, I was at my limit. Everyone was pretending not to notice me. But thanks to you, I've been able to push through. I'm really grateful.
Her eyes were filled with tears. I couldn't even begin to imagine how much she had endured. But I could support her from now on. To acknowledge her resilience, I silently vowed to keep working alongside her. 1 week later, it was the day of the meeting for the projects our department had been working on. Susan was in charge, and we were supposed to meet in front of the client's office building, but she still hadn't shown up by the scheduled time. I grew worried and called her while John, trying to hide his irritation, muttered angrily,
Susan, she has no sense of responsibility as a professional.
I called several times, but it kept going to voicemail. If she didn't show up, John would have to step in for the meeting. That wouldn't necessarily be a problem, but I felt bad that Susan wouldn't get to showcase the results of all her hard work. Just then, my phone rang. It was an unknown number, but thinking it might be Susan, I quickly answered.
Is this Bob Miller? I'm calling from Mercy Hospital.
Yes, this is Bob speaking. A hospital?
Susan was just brought in by ambulance.
What? Is she okay? My raised voice drew the attention of everyone around me. I ignored their stares and focused on the call.
Yes, she's conscious and alert now.
Thank goodness. Apparently, Susan had collapsed on her way to the meeting. Someone nearby called an ambulance, and she was taken to the closest hospital. The cause was anemia. The diagnosis indicated that it was likely stress-related. Though she had been disoriented when she arrived, she was now well enough to send a message asking me to handle things. She'd be staying in the hospital overnight and could be discharged as early as tomorrow if everything looked fine. I felt relieved as I ended the call. Even though I had warned her not to overwork herself, she had pushed too hard to prepare for today. After the meeting, I'd have to visit her. When I explained the situation to everyone, John, as expected, was outraged.
She can't even manage her own health. She's completely useless.
I wanted to say, whose fault do you think it is that she collapsed? But worsening the situation now and affecting the meeting wouldn't be wise. When I asked for instructions on the next steps, John crossed his arms and extended his hand toward me.
Give me the materials. I'll handle it. We need to communicate in French with the client after all.
He strutted confidently into the building. He was probably eager to show off his skills.
I'll show you how in French negotiation is done, so watch and learn.
That's what he said. But once the meeting started, John kept glancing nervously between the documents and the client's face.
Well,
it was obvious what was happening. John's French wasn't getting through. On top of that, he couldn't understand what the client was saying. Both sides tilted their heads in confusion, and the atmosphere grew tense as everyone looked anxiously at their representative. Wasn't he supposed to have grown up in France? The client let out a sigh of frustration. From what I could hear, John's French was insufficient. At this rate, the meeting was doomed to fail. Well, are you okay? I asked quietly, and John's expression shifted from weak to angry as he glared at me. But given the circumstances, his glare lacked intensity.
of course not. The client doesn't understand my French.
It's not that the client doesn't understand.
What? Are you saying you want to take over the meeting?
No, I didn't mean it that way.
If you're bold enough to speak up, you must be confident in your skills, right? Fine, I'll let you handle it.
What? John smirked as he guided me to sit in front of the client.
So, I heard you've been secretly helping Susan, acting all high and mighty. Let's see what you've got. Show me what a high school grad can do.
There was no choice. As I skimmed through the materials and prepared to speak, John whispered in my ear,
If you mess up, it's all on you.
he's blaming everything on me while ignoring the fact that he can't handle it himself. And not just me, he's dragging Susan into this too. What a guy. Suppressing the anger welling up inside me, I simply said, understood. I apologized to the client for John's lack of manners and began the presentation. Using the proposal, comparison with competitors, and our past successes, all of which Susan had worked so hard to prepare, I advanced the discussion. Of course, all in French. Unlike with John, the meeting progressed smoothly and the client responded positively. Apparently, they'd been considering working with another company, but were impressed by my pitch and decided they wanted to proceed with us.
Your presentation was fantastic. We'd love to work with your company.
Thank you. The client then smiled mischievously.
Honestly, I had no idea what the guy next to you was saying earlier. I wasn't sure what to do.
Yeah. I could only give a wry smile. In any case, the negotiation was a success. That went well, John. When I spoke to John, who hadn't even realized things had gone smoothly, he nodded vaguely. After we exited the client's building, I summarized the agreement, and John was overjoyed. I sent everyone back to the office, and I headed to the hospital where Susan was admitted. When I told her about the successful negotiation, she was overjoyed.
Thank you so much. I don't know how to thank you.
You don't need to thank me. Just focus on getting better.
Oh, but John, he was mad at me, wasn't he?
Susan looked worried about the scolding she expected to face. Don't worry, he won't be giving you a hard time.
What? What do you mean?
You'll see tomorrow. For now, just focus on resting. Take it easy today. As I adjusted her blanket, I noticed that Susan's face had turned red. Her immune system was probably weakened, and she might have caught a cold. I asked her to check her temperature, and I was relieved when it was normal. When I returned to the office, it seemed word had already spread. Our CEO, Kevin, came to our department.
Bob, great job this time. Securing that major contract is a huge relief.
He reached out for a handshake with a warm smile, and I shook his hand. This negotiation was part of a major project. Therefore, the results were significant. Then John chimed in from the side.
Well, Kevin, the meeting wrapped up quickly. I guess my guidance really paid off.
The way he said it made it sound like the deal succeeded thanks to him. Ridiculous, he had just sat there watching. It only worked out thanks to Susan's preparation and my sales pitch. Whether he realized my frustration or not, John kept talking.
Compared to that, Susan was a complete mess. The whole negotiation almost fell apart because of her. We should remove her from the project. Oh, and since Bob did a decent job, I wouldn't mind having him as my direct subordinate.
The one who nearly ruined the meeting was John, and I was the one who salvaged it. John kept up his pompous act, spitting obvious lies. At this point, Kevin couldn't hold back his laughter anymore.
You're hilarious, you know that?
John must have thought his father, the CEO, was praising him. He smiled awkwardly, but froze when he heard Kevin's next words.
You're going to be Bob's subordinate.
What?
You've been incredibly disrespectful to him, haven't you?
Well, I mean, he's older than me, but a mid-career hire, and I heard he didn't even finish college.
Didn't you know he's my superior?
John's eyes widened in shock.
Superior?
That's right. Kevin is technically my subordinate. When I was 21 and had dropped out of college, Kevin joined the company as a fresh graduate. Even though he was older, I already had over 3 years of experience, so I was technically his senior. He was talented and destined for success, climbing the ranks quickly with plans to become an executive. While he aimed for a leadership role, I was sent to work at the parent company overseas, thanks to the language skills I gained through relentless effort and study. Our company had many branches and subsidiaries, so I spent 10 years moving across different countries. The company's investment in me, hoping I bring back valuable insights from different cultures, was something I could never thank them enough for. I moved through Europe, and after passing through Asia, I was stationed at the South Korean branch when I received a message from Kevin, who had just been appointed CEO. He asked for my help, saying, "Our company's performance hasn't been great lately. I need my senior's expertise. If I could use my experience at the parent company to help, it would be the perfect way to repay my old company." With that in mind, I negotiated with the parent company and got permission to return.
Why didn't you tell me any of this?
John lashed out, but it was pointless. Because you never listened to me. Besides, after hearing you speak, I started to think you were one of the reasons for the company's decline.
What do you mean?
You treat employees like disposable tools, ignoring their feelings and piling work on them, all to maintain your authority. You surround yourself with people who blindly follow your orders and shift the blame onto them whenever something goes wrong. I believe this is what's causing the decline in employee morale.
That's just your opinion. I'm strict with employees to foster a disciplined work environment.
Is that so? Let's see if you still say that after hearing this. Suddenly, Susan's voice echoed through the office. The sound was coming from my phone.
No, John told everyone to dump all the tedious tasks on me. He said, "If you don't do as I say, you'll end up like Susan."
I had asked Susan to provide a statement from the hospital.
He also ordered everyone not to help me. And those who ignored his orders and helped me were scolded and pressured until they quit. I saw it happen to several people.
This is nonsense.
John protested, but it was obvious from the employees' faces. No one sided with John. They all nodded at Susan's words.
I see. I never should have hired you.
Kevin looked at his son with a pained expression.
We'll conduct a thorough investigation, but to think the cause was so close to home. Everyone, I'm sorry.
Kevin apologized, leaving everyone unsure how to respond. The only one still shouting, "What are you talking about? I did nothing wrong," was John, and everyone was giving him cold, disapproving stares. Afterward, more of John's abuse of power came to light. John's behavior toward Susan was just the tip of the iceberg. His actions demotivated many employees and lowered their performance, leading to his demotion. Now, as a regular employee, he had to start from scratch, doing the same tasks as new hires, and learning from others' work ethic.
Here's your tea, Bob.
With a loud thud, a teacup was placed on my desk. John slammed it down so hard that some of the tea spilled over. Instead of reflecting on his actions, he was resorting to petty harassment and venting his frustration. Helping him grow was now part of my job as his manager. John, you mentioned being a Returnee from France, right? But are you not comfortable speaking in French? His face twisted as he likely remembered the negotiation from before.
I graduated from French University, you know. Isn't that a rude question?
But you couldn't hold a conversation, could you?
Well,
You're probably amazing at reading and writing, though. He didn't seem to expect a compliment from me, and he looked confused. Did you only hang out with other American people while you were in school and in the community?
how did you know?
It's pretty common. If you don't communicate with the locals, you won't really pick up the language.
So, you're saying I'm incompetent?
Of course not. Quite the opposite. You managed to graduate, which means you have the ability to adapt to unfamiliar environments, right?
Well, that depends on whether the environment suits me or not.
John, the first thing you need to work on is relying too much on others.
What?
The irritation in his voice made it clear that the confident department head he once was had vanished. Your job, your language skills, you've relied on others for everything, haven't you? If you don't change your attitude, you'll stay the same. Doesn't that frustrate you?
Of course it does. What would you know, Bob? You've never been the CEO's son.
Maybe he'd been paralyzed by the weight of being the CEO's son, unable to find the right way to behave. To become a leader, you need to study more and become someone others respect. No matter what people say, you have to keep working hard. If you felt frustrated, then work twice as hard. Eventually, people will recognize you. John didn't respond and walked off somewhere. Shortly after, Susan returned to her desk and said, "I just passed John, and he looked like he was about to cry. I hope my words had reached him, even just a little."
By the way, a client sent us a new request, something about an ad targeting the European market.
Having taken over John's role as department head, I'd been working alongside the team on various projects, using my experience from the parent company just as Kevin had envisioned. It seemed like the company's performance was improving, making this a crucial time to maintain momentum.
Oh, and I booked your favorite Italian restaurant for tonight. Looking forward to it, right?
Susan whispered playfully in my ear. Apparently, at some point, she had taken a liking to me. A 20-year age gap. What could an older guy like me possibly offer someone as young as her? I'd said that to her once, but she'd replied that, just like work, age doesn't matter when it comes to love. Age doesn't define someone's value or abilities. A workplace where everyone is respected and can showcase their strengths. That's what I believe a company should be. It's not about how long you've lived. It's about what you've learned, what you've felt, and how you apply it. Helping employees reflect on that is part of my job as a manager. A few weeks later, John approached my desk holding a file.
I've compiled the materials for the negotiation.
What, already? It was all in French data too. That's fast. I skimmed through the file and saw that it was well organized, with clear charts and graphs.
Of course, I told you I'm a Returnee after all.
This time, there was no arrogance in his voice. He was simply demonstrating his abilities. That's how it came across. That's true. Well done. Seeing how much John had grown, I thought to myself that I couldn't slack off either. I was still learning too. I often asked younger employees about trends and integrated what I learned into my work. A workplace where learning is fun might be a luxury, but it's something I cherish. If I can keep learning about work and relationships at this company I love. While I was lost in thought, Susan called out,
Bob, the meeting is starting.
"Maybe I'll keep learning about love too." I stood up and headed toward her.